snowing balls outside, and I get really terrified of driving in the snow. So I thought it'd be a really good time to like come to terms with my fears. I am terrified of dying. That's my number one fear. I don't want to ever die. I realize that's irrational and unreasonable, but I really, really like living. And the idea that someday it's going to stop scares the shit out of me. Which is probably why so many people go in for religion and afterlives, etc., because it gives you hope. And hope is the antithesis of fear, right? So, eventually I'll figure that out. I think maybe overcoming that fear is just living my best life, making sure that I do everything in my power to accomplish my goals, to see through whatever I can for my children. And then also, at the end of the day, the one thing I've learned that really works for conquering fear is just acceptance. So when I have the panic attacks and the anxiety that manifests itself solely as dying, I just have to come around to the idea that what is, and if it happens, it happens. And that helps a lot, actually, ironically. It really does. So it's a big one. Number one. We're supposed to lead up to that, right? In the top 10 list. I am scared of the dark. I always have been. It used to be paralyzing when I was a kid. I was a very, very, very scared little kid. I have kind of mostly overcome darkness. Now it's more of being alone in the woods or creepy abandoned buildings darkness, which I think to some degree everyone has. And I think if you say you don't, you're lying. I think it's actually pretty funny. I've been in situations like camping in the woods and stuff, and like hammocks where a bunch of big brawny guys are scared too, but they don't admit it as readily, or maybe they don't feel it as readily too. That's probably it too, to different degrees. I think mine is no longer debilitating. It's much more now of I just have to, logic. I'm not scared of things that go bump in the night anymore, which is a big part of it, because as a kid that was the overarching fear, right? And now it's just more I think it's just the unknown. I think that we're made to be wary of that. And then as we've stopped being as primitive and as exploratory of those spaces, your natural instincts kick in, right? Your evolution, your self-preservation, and say, don't go in the woods alone at night, right? So anyways, I don't know if that's number two. Is probably not. At this point, they're all kind of mixed in, because basically the other fears are all pretty mild. I'm pretty I don't know what the word is. I'm sure someone knows what it is, but like my brain overcomes most things. I can think my way out and logic my way out of most things. I'm scared of spiders, always have been. Fucking creepy little fucks. I don't like them. But again, I used to be terrified of them. Actually, being an arborist is what got me over that one, because when you're hanging from a rope in a tree and a fucking spider comes dangling down at you, what are you gonna do? You gonna like panic and take your clothes off and scream and run? Well, no, you're on a rope. So I've learned to flick. I've also learned to accept. And so now when they're in my space, I just either leave them if they're small, because size matters, and or if they're really big and scary, then I will politely relocate them. It goes with most all insects, bugs, etc. Anything really. Again, just exposure and just acceptance of space and respect, I think. What else am I scared of? Tree work. I've really faced a lot of fears in that. I don't like lifts at all. I think they're fucking terrifying. I used to be really terrified of them in the beginning, but then I remember the exact moment, because I was in my boss's old lift, which was a piece of shit, and I was terrified, and I was doing this big split hackberry, and I was just miserable. I was just clenched up and like almost paralyzed, and the fear was just all consuming. And I had this moment where I was like, dude, if you're gonna die from this, like, you have to either choose to do this job and and it's what you love and it's your passion, and accept the risk of it, and just accept that. Or you can quit doing this job and never have to be in this situation again. And I thought about it and kind of moved it around my head, and I was like, I want to be here, I want to be doing this job, so I'm going to accept and I'm going to trust, because that's the other big one, is to trust myself, trust my equipment, trust the universe, trust my environment, trust my friends and coworkers, etc., and onward. Trust all of that. So at that day, I like gave it up, I let go of it. Now that doesn't mean that I don't ever get scared at work, because everyone does. Like, you're in an 80-foot tree and you haven't been in an 80-foot tree for a while, it gets a little nerve-wracking at first. And so for that kind of fear, I've discovered that just focusing on the task at hand, and then the fear evaporates, right? Because the fear is just your body's self-preservation mechanism, because what we do is insane. And then once you let go of that and just start focusing, then the fear goes away, because then you're just doing your job. And also, I really love my job, so I think that helps combat it too, because the fear is just, in that instance, it's not like an irrational fear, like a lot of them are, I think is the best way to say it. It's a very rational, like, self-preservation fear. It's saying, ooh, this is dangerous, stop. And I think that kind of fear is a lot easier to overcome, because it is actually the kind of helpful kind of fear, if that makes sense. Like, fear is there to help you. It's there to preserve you. That's why you have fear. It's when we allow it to become an anxiety or a panic attack or a debilitating fear or an irrational fear, I think that then that's when it starts taking over and it stops being biologically, etc., helpful. So like heights, it's a natural fear. As long as you can say, ooh, okay, I'm going to be extra careful and follow these procedures, then your brain is like, oh, okay, she's doing that, click. At least that's been my experience. Okay, what else am I scared of? Oh my God, I'm always terrified for my children all the time. I think as a parent, like, that is just the stuff of life, right? You're going to be utterly terrified every day for the rest of your life, and just welcome it, embrace it, accept that this is it, man. Like, I swear to God, guys, I just swear to God, it's lovely. Like, that one is pretty amazing. Every decision you make, you fear positive and negative, right? And I think that's the big one. Is like, as a parent, you never make a decision and are 100% certain in it. There's always doubt, there's always worry, there's always fear, right? And so that's just like neat, because when I make a decision for myself and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I just do it and I feel good about it and I'm okay with it. But when I make it for a child, I'm making a decision for another human. I'm doing that hoping I have their best interest and all the facts, and everything is lined up and I've made the right decision. However, good news, you don't fucking know. And you never have all the information because you're not in them. I mean, it gets easier as they get older and more communicative. Obviously, that makes it easier as they become stronger, but you're still there. My 19-year-old, I am as scared for her as I am for my other kids in different ways. That's a big one though. So I think that one is big on trust. Trust yourself, trust your kids, trust your intuition. Goddamn. If I didn't trust my intuition, I would be completely and totally helpless. Like, trusting my intuition is the way that I have survived. So with kids especially, like, I just trust. I trust my intuition. I trust them. I trust what they tell me. I trust what I see. And then I have faith that whatever I'm doing isn't going to fuck them up too bad. And also that it will, it's a decision made in love, and hopefully it's the right one. And then be willing to accept failure, I think, is another big one. So with the kids, I'm always willing to change and grow and learn. They might teach me something that I needed to learn and change and grow. I might learn something that changes my opinion, and being willing to accept that and change with it and roll with the times and roll with the new information, I think, is a big deal too. Because I think if you refuse to learn, you're gonna make bad decisions. And then allowing them to make as many decisions for themselves as possible, as soon as possible. That might sound crazy, and people might give me shit for it if they knew that I parented that way. But like, even my 5-year-old, he's an autonomous human. Whatever decisions that he's capable of making that I feel comfortable that he can make without endangering himself, I would prefer him to make for himself, because he is an autonomous human who knows himself, and knows what he desires the best. So like trying to let them have that, I think it's going to help them in the long run too. So yeah, parenting 101. I could wax poetically for days, hours, months, and years about parenting, but I won't. Oh God. Driving in the snow is one of my fears. It scares the piss out of me, but I'm doing it anyways. Other fears. Oh man. Oh, okay. The fear of not being good enough. Whew. Always here and there. I really love myself. I've been really blessed with that. I think a lot of people struggle with fears in that instance, and I've been really lucky in that I genuinely love who I am and love myself, my core. But still, like, you know, it's hard to think that. That one's a little easier for me to overcome, I think. I just kind of bulldoze through. I do that with a lot of my fears. Just put your head down and I do that with a lot of everything in life. But so I think that's a big one, though. It's just fuck people. I mean, I love people, and of course I want people to be happy, but do I care if I'm not perfect for them? The more I live and the older I get and the wiser I become, the more I just want to be a good, true human, and I want to treat everyone with respect. If they don't love me or they don't like what they see, I am okay with that. I can accept that. So, I don't know. That one's not really that big of a deal for me, personally. What other fears do I have? God, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think those are the big ones that we've covered. I used to have fear of missing out, FOMO, as the kids call it. But I stopped when I started living authentically, I think. And realizing that I would rather be in my present moment experiencing it than worried about what else is out there or what else is next. Now I tend to weigh my options a little bit more, like what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and then come up with, you know, what feels authentic in that moment, and then doing that. So that's for me how I dealt with that. I don't know if it'll help everyone else, but the grass is never greener, homies. Never greener. The grass is different. And different is good because we're so different. But if you can find a part of yourself that tells you what you need, and I'm talking psychologically, physiologically, emotionally, mentally, everything, there's a piece in you that knows. You can call it whatever you want. I call it intuition. But man, it really works. Like, I cannot ever say enough how much it works. Like, I've been having horrible anxiety and panic for like 3-4 weeks, which I haven't had since like Bella was a baby, so like 12, 13 years ago. And then it was really bad and debilitating, and I dealt with it then without medication, because fear of drugs. Oh my God, I got such a fear of drugs. I got some PTSD with the drugs. Whoop whoop. And I'm scared shitless of altering the chemistry of my mind and body, which is such a delicate balance. Sorry, we're getting off track. Oh, and we're going down the hill of death. But no, that's a big one. Wow. Yeah, I'm scared shitless. Like, I can't do drugs. I did so many drugs when I was younger, and I had such a tragic, traumatizing experience with them and with people around them that, like, I am physically incapable of doing drugs. I'm not physically incapable, obviously. I'm mentally incapable. But they scare me terribly, and I'm a control freak when it comes to my mind and my body, like, in my environment, for sure. I like to be in control of everything to do with myself, and when I get out of control, my mind fucking loses it. I actually envy people who are able to let it go, and that's something I'm working on. Not doing drugs, but being able to let go, and yeah, just being able to let go. Let's just leave it at that. I lost my train of thought on what we were talking about before this, but needless to say, I think we've hammered out most of them. I don't know. So yeah, so something I've learned recently that I think is really important. Hope is the antithesis of fear. I read that recently, and it really resonated. I think that's a big one. So, tools to overcoming fear. Logic and common sense, which I will not say, because actually you don't want to be too much emotion or too much logic and common sense. That's something I've learned. Both bad extremes. You want to be somewhere in here. But they are good when overcoming irrational fears. Hope is incredibly good for overcoming fears. Faith, trust, and deciding what you want and what you don't want, following your intuition. That'd be my advice and my honest expose into the fears of Aaron. As soon as I click off, I'm sure I'll think of 37 more that I haven't covered. Adieu.